couple videos ago, I talked about every team's most disappointing so far this season, and a lot of you guys in the comments wanted me to do the opposite of that. And in today's video, we're going to do the opposite of that, and we're going to talk about every team's most surprising player so far in a good way this NBA season. And it's funny, in that disappointing video too, after I talked about Wemby, he went off to just have an unreal 3-game stretch, including a 50-point game against the Wizards. So the first player we're going to talk about that I think this year is meeting and exceeding expectations has to be Norman Powell of the LA Clippers. It's not a shocker that Norman Powell is taking more shots this year. Kawhi Leonard is already hurt. Paul George left in free agency for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he's taking about 7 more shots a night this year than he was last year. But with this volume increase, the efficiency has gone up, which is surprising to everybody. So far this season, Norman Powell is averaging 25 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, but he's averaging those 25 points on 50% shooting from the field, 49% shooting from 3 on 8 attempts a night. That is just unreal. And he's shooting 83% from the line. He's also averaging 1.3 steals a night as well. He's shooting 66% at the rim, which is insane for somebody of his size. And the Clippers are also 5 points better when he's on the floor. He hasn't been as bad as we've seen in the past from him defensively. I would say Norman Powell has to be the front runner for most improved player this season, since he averaged 14 points per game last year and 25 points per game this year. And you may say, Matt, it's because of the volume increase. Yes, but the efficiency hasn't gone down, and that's something you'd usually see that's correlated with the volume increase. And I'd rather Norman Powell win this award than guys we've seen in the past like John Morant and Brandon Ingram, who have been top 3 picks in the NBA draft. So for the LA Lakers, I wouldn't say there's a ton of people that are exceeding expectations. I think we all could expect this version of Anthony Davis if he got the ball more, which we're seeing this year. So I'm actually going to talk about Cam Reddish, who's been a very good role player for the Lakers so far. I think guys like Rui Hachimura and D'Angelo Russell have been a little bit disappointing. Rui, especially since he got off to such a good start. JJ Redick maybe is exceeding expectations, but the Lakers aren't as elite as we thought they could be after the first couple of weeks. So Cam Reddish has been a great role player, like I said, and his numbers aren't going to pop out at you. He's averaging just 5.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, but he's doing this in 21 minutes a night. He's shooting 70% from the field, 71% from 3 on over a 3 a night, and the LA Lakers are a better team by 2 points when he's on the floor. He's looked great defensively, and I think this version of Cam Reddish could be the version that could keep Cam Reddish in the league for the next 10 plus years. He's not going to be the score first guy that we thought he was going to be when he came out of Duke, when he was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, but this version of Cam Reddish, where he prioritizes defense first, could make him a great role player for the foreseeable future. I think DeMar DeRozan has become somewhat underrated in this league. He did go to the Sacramento Kings in the offseason in a sign and trade, and people thought that he's 35 years old in an offense that doesn't have the most optimal floor spacing. He was going to take a little bit of a step back, but it looks like DeMar DeRozan hasn't lost a step whatsoever. So far this season, he's averaging 23 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds a night. He's also averaging just under 2 steals a game, but his efficiency has been great for someone that is 36 years old. 52% from the field, 40% from 3 on over 2 attempts a night, which is a nice career revelation for DeMar DeRozan, who's not been known to take a lot of threes in his career. He's shooting 86% from the line, and he's doing this in all 36 minutes a night. The Kings are a better team when he's on the floor, and I think he's gelling with Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox so far. He's dealing a little bit with an injury right now, so hopefully it's not going to be something too long term. There isn't going to be many rookies in this video, but there's one that I have to talk about, and it's Ryan Dunn of the Phoenix Suns. Ryan Dunn was the 28th overall pick. The reason why he went so low in the NBA draft is because his shooting at Virginia was not good whatsoever. He didn't have the confidence, the shot diet, and the form did not look good. Now, he was a solid shooter in high school. I don't know what happened at Virginia, but we are seeing Ryan Dunn, who was the best defender, at least on the perimeter, the best wing defender in the 2024 draft, develop an outside shot. And if he showcased what he's shown from Phoenix this year from behind the arc, he would have been a top 10 pick. Ryan Dunn this year is averaging 7 points, 2.5 rebounds, but he's shooting 46% from the field, 38% from 3, which is just insane if you watch him shoot at Virginia, and he's taking over 4 threes a night. And obviously the defense has been as advertised. He is playing great defense on the perimeter, in the post, and this is exactly what Phoenix needs. They needed to hit on one of their first round picks, and they did with Ryan Dunn here with the 28th overall pick, and he's an early candidate to be in the rookie of the year conversation and definitely make all rookie first team. One of the best value free agency signings from last offseason has to be Buddy Hield of the Golden State Warriors, and he has been a dynamic player in this Steve Kerr offense so far. He's averaging 17.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists a night, but we all knew that Buddy Hield was one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, and he is showcasing that in this Golden State offense. He's shooting 50% from the field, 47% from 3 on 8 attempts a night, and he's also shooting 86% from the line. In my opinion, he's the front runner for 6th man of the year at the moment, since 10 of his 11 games have come off the bench. And this is exactly what Golden State needed when Klay Klay Thompson left them in free agency for the Dallas Mavericks, and Buddy Hield has been just as good, if not better, than Klay Thompson this season. So for the Knicks, it's also kind of tough. I wanted to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns, but I think we all thought he could be this good offensively, which he has showcased so far. Mikal Bridges has been sort of the opposite, somewhat disappointing for the Knicks this season, especially on defense. I thought about bringing up Josh Hart to the conversation because he's finding ways to impact the game on so many different aspects, even when he's like the 5th best guy on the starting 5. But I'm going to talk about Miles McBride. And I think if you were a Knicks fan or following them throughout the playoffs last year, you knew that Miles McBride could be one of the better guards coming off the bench this season. And with the increase in volume, now that he is the solo 6th man, now that Dante DiVincenzo is no longer here, Josh Hart's in the starting lineup. But McBride, I think, is hitting some insanely tough shots and is becoming a great 6th man for the Knicks right now. He's played all his games off the bench this season. He's playing about 26 minutes a night. And with everybody in the starting 5 playing 35 plus minutes a night, McBride is the one guy that is playing a ton off the bench. He's taking about 9 shots a night, shooting 44% from the field, but he is shooting 38% from 3 on 5 attempts a night. He's averaging 11 points, 2.5 assists, 2.5 rebounds. He's a good free throw shooter, and he's averaging over a steal a night as well. And the Knicks are 16 points better per 100 possessions when he is on the floor compared to when he's off the bench. So he brings them life. He's a nice spark plug off the bench, and he is turning into a great 6th man on one of the best contracts in the NBA. There's a couple people I could definitely talk about for the Toronto Raptors. You could mention Davion Mitchell or Ochai Agbaji, but I'm going to talk about Grady Dick, who's taking a year 2 leap that I don't think a lot of people expected. So far this year, Grady Dick has been the best Raptor, and that's with Emmanuel Quickly playing a little bit, same with Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett. Now, all those guys have been dealing with injuries, but Grady Dick averaged 8.5 points as a rookie. He was someone that was standing in the corner, especially when Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby were there, but even when they were gone, we didn't see him this aggressive and this integrated in the offense that we are seeing from him this season. So far, he is averaging 20 points per game. He's shooting 45% from the field, 37% from 3 on 7 attempts a night. He's shooting 89% from the line and is also getting to the line 4 times more this year than he was last year. Now, the Raptors haven't been a great team overall, but when you're watching Grady Dick with the ball in his hands, he's hitting insanely tough shots. He can move with the ball in his hands. He can move without the ball in his hands. And he is just someone that looks so much more confident in year number 2. And he's still just 20 years old. I don't think anybody thought the Brooklyn Nets were going to be this good so far. I definitely want to give Cam Johnson some love, but I knew that Cam Johnson could be putting up what he was doing this year. And last year seemed like somewhat of a down year. It was a down year for a lot of Brooklyn Nets. So I'm going to talk about Dennis Schroeder, who's turning into one of the best trade candidates in all of basketball. Dennis Schroeder in his age 31 season is averaging 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists. He's shooting 49% from the field, 46% from 3, and 84% from the line. These are pretty much all career highs since the 2018 season when he was 24 years old with the Atlanta Hawks. And he bounced around on so many teams after Atlanta. He was in OKC, he was in LA, Boston, Houston, Toronto, and it feels like he's found a good role in this Brooklyn Nets offense. Like I said, though, if the Nets still want to sell at the trade deadline, he's going to be somebody that I thought was going to be a buyout candidate in the preseason to someone that could net them a good first-round pick at the deadline, and it's going to be one of the better point guards on the trade market. For Boston, I also want to give Peyton Pritchard some love. I think he's exceeding expectations coming off the bench. He's up there with Buddy Hield in the 6th man of the year conversation, but I want to give some love to Neemias Queta. With Kristaps Porzingis out, with Al Horford getting up there in age, Queta has been a solid big man for the Boston Celtics so far. He didn't play a lot in the first 4 games of the season, so over his last 9 games, he is averaging 7 points, 6 rebounds. The Celtics are 9 points better when he is on the floor. He's shooting 64% from the field, averaging over a block a night, and I think he's been better than Xavier Tillman this season, and is giving Boston just another role player out of nowhere that could contribute for them down the stretch as they are trying to win another title. So for Philadelphia, I was going to talk about Gershon Yabusele because he's had a nice career turnaround, obviously balling out for Team France in the Olympics, gets a NBA contract because of that, and he's been good for the 76ers this year. But I'm going to talk about my second rookie in this video, and that is Jared McCain. I know this year hasn't been the greatest so far for Philadelphia, obviously because of injuries. Embiid's been hurt, Paul George has been hurt, same with Tyrese Maxey, but all these injuries, there may be a blessing in disguise, and they are finding out that they need to play Jared McCain right now, and they need to give him over 20 minutes a night, because over his last 7 games, he's averaging 18 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds a night, but he's shooting 47% from the field on 14 attempts. He's been a #1 option for them in games where the big 3 isn't playing. He's shooting 42% from 3 on 7 attempts a night, and I still don't know how he fell to pick 16 for the Philadelphia 76ers. I thought he was going to be a lottery pick and should have been a lottery pick in the 2024 draft. The Sixers got a steal and a great spark plug off the bench for them. Here to give this to, because you could talk about a bunch of different guys. You could talk about Santi Aldama. You could talk about second-round pick Jalen Wells, who's been starting for them. You could talk about J. Hub. tough. This guy out of nowhere that hasn't done much in his career, and now he's shooting 40% from three as a big man. But I want to give the most love to Scottie Pippen Jr. It's funny because all the talk this year has been about Bronny James, the son of LeBron, but the son of Scottie Pippen, an NBA Hall of Famer, has been a great storyline of this NBA season. Scottie Pippen Jr. just turned 24 years old. He bounced around to start off his career, had a cup of coffee with the Lakers, and then appeared in 21 games last year for the banged up Memphis Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies found something with Scottie Pippen Jr. This year so far, he is averaging 12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists a night. He's shooting 51% from the field, 44% from three, 80% from the line. And in games when Ja Morant has been hurt this year, Scottie Pippen Jr. has been one of the best fill-in point guards in this league. He also had a triple-double against the Washington Wizards. And man, this could have been another great rotational piece for the Lakers if they just were patient with Scottie Pippen Jr., but maybe that was just another reason why Darvin Ham didn't work out in Los Angeles. This Rockets season has been funny because the two players that got paid a ton of money on their rookie extensions, Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green, haven't been the most exciting Rockets to watch this year. It's been Amen Thompson and the guy we're going to talk about, Tari Eason. Eason has been much better than somebody that was taken 14 spots higher than him in the 2022 draft to the Rockets in Jabari Smith Jr., who's probably been the most disappointing player from that draft class so far. But this season for Tari Eason, he is averaging 12 points, 5.5 rebounds. He's shooting 55% from the field, 36% from three, and he's averaging 1.8 steals, 1.2 blocks, and him and Amen Thompson as a defensive duo, the Terror Twins, have just been a joy to watch. They bring so much excitement, energy, and athleticism on the defensive end of the floor and are great complementary pieces to the score-first guys in Houston right now. For the Dallas Mavericks, some players have been disappointing so far. You could say Luka Doncic hasn't looked like the MVP that a lot of people expected him to be. PJ Washington hasn't been as good as he was last year. Quentin Grimes has been pretty disappointing, but Najee Marshall is looking like a great free agency pickup for them. Now, I don't think Najee is as good of a defender as Derrick Jones Jr. was for them last year, but he's providing them a good role player that is doing some of the dirty work defensively, and the Mavericks are a much better team when he's on the floor, complimenting guys like Clay, Luka, and Kyrie Irving, who all aren't known to be the best defenders in the world right now. And Najee is averaging 7.5 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists a night. He's shooting 49% from the field and is averaging over a steal a night. You would like for him to be a little bit better as a three-point shooter, and if that comes around, he's going to be even more of a surprising player this year in a good way. For the San Antonio Spurs, I wanted to give some love to Malachi Branham because he has been a great shooter this year for the San Antonio Spurs, but his defense hasn't been where I'd like it to be in year number 3. So I'm going to talk about someone that has turned into a great role player for them, and this was a diamond in the rough they found, and that is Julian Champagnie. Champagnie was undrafted in the 2022 draft. He had a cup of coffee with the Philadelphia 76ers and has spent the last 2 years with the San Antonio Spurs, and this year has really stepped up for them. He's averaging 11 points a night, 5.5 rebounds, 2 assists, and is shooting 44% from the field, but 37% from 3 on 6 attempts a night. He's been a much better shooter than Keldon Johnson has. And Champagnie has also been a much better defender than Malachi Branham has been. They are a much better team when he is on the floor. He's a good connecting piece on both ends. And the Spurs really found something here that could be a good complementary piece to Victor Wembanyama going forward. I thought about giving some love here to Yves Missi, but the Pelicans this year have been an utter disaster. I feel like Jose Alvarado was stepping up with some of his increase in playing time, but now he is hurt. So I'm going to talk about Brandon Boston, who's finding himself a nice role here in New Orleans. Boston this year is asked to do way too much because of all the injuries. The injuries to DeJounte Murray, TJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy to start off the season, Zion Williamson is hurt, Jose Alvarado is hurt. Basically everybody on this team is banged up, and I didn't even say Jordan Hawkins, him as well. And some of Boston's numbers are going down a tad bit, at least in the efficiency aspect, because he's taking more shots per game than he ever has in his career. But he has looked good at times for them. He's averaging 11.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's shooting 44% from the field, 35% from 3, and 89% from the line. And this is a 22-year-old on a 2-way contract that really looks like he could be a good rotational piece for New Orleans going forward, and this could be exactly what Memphis found last year in some of their guys like Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, and Scottie Pippen Jr. Man, you have to talk about Tyler Hero for the Miami Heat. Not only has he been the Heat's best player, he looks like an all-star in the Eastern Conference. He looks like he should be somebody on an all-NBA team so far. To start off the year, Tyler Hero was averaging 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He's shooting 51% from the field, 48% from 3, and 83% from the line. He's only one of 2 players to average over 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and shoot over 45% from 3 this season. The other guy is, oh yeah, the MVP frontrunner Nikola Jokic. And Hero just had a monster performance against the Pistons the other night. He dropped 40 points on 52% shooting. He looks like an elite 3-point shooter once again this year. And it's a shame because the Heat lost that game and nobody has really been helping him out on the offensive end consistently enough as Tyler Hero has been this season. One of the more entertaining pieces about the Charlotte Hornets offense has been Trey Mann, who was traded to the Hornets last year at the trade deadline in the Gordon Hayward package. We knew that he wasn't going to be able to really break out in his role in OKC, given how deep they were as a team, but he's really found a nice home here in Charlotte. To start off the season, he's averaging 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. He's shooting 44% from the field, 39% from 3 on 5 attempts a night. And oh yeah, he hasn't missed a single free throw this season yet. He's just 23 years old. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I assume, or would like to assume, that Charlotte is going to want to keep him around because he looks like he could be a great 6-man going forward and is going to be in those 6-man of the year conversations with Buddy Hield and Peyton Pritchard. Orlando Magic. Oh. Man, the Orlando Magic looked so fun to start off the year before Paolo Banchero got hurt, and then you were a little scared in the Eastern Conference. How would they survive? Franz Wagner has been stepping up as a #1 option, but I assumed, or at least expected, Franz to bounce back from his somewhat disappointing season last year. This year, though, his brother, in my opinion, has been the most surprising player in a good way for the Magic, Mo Wagner. You can make an argument that Mo Wagner has been their best big man so far at the center spot, and that is better than Wendell Carter Jr., at least on the offensive end. So far this year, Mo is averaging 12.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and is shooting 53% from the field, 80% from the line. And he looks more comfortable out there as a pick and roll partner with some of these offensive driven guys in Orlando. I think Goga Bitadze has also been pretty good for the Orlando Magic. So it's cool to see the Wagner brothers balling out together in Orlando. This next player we're going to talk about, it's got to be in defensive player of the year conversations and most improved player conversations as well. And that is Dyson Daniels, the main player that the Hawks got back in the DeJounte Murray trade from last offseason. He's been balling for them, especially on defense. This year, Daniels is averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists a night. He's shooting 47% from the field and is averaging a league best 3.5 steals a night. He's also leading the league in deflections per game by a large margin as well. And the Hawks, who haven't been a good defensive team, have actually looked like somewhat of a coherent defensive squad when Dyson Daniels is on the floor. When he goes off the court, they are just a disaster defensively. But Dyson Daniels has been one of, if not the best, perimeter defender and point of attack defender in all of basketball, which is insane to see because he is 21 years old and he is really breaking out in year number 3. You know who's been great this year and it's just been fun to watch again? He's going back to what he was in 2022. Jordan Poole of the Washington Wizards. Poole this year is averaging 22 points per game. He's shooting 46% from the field, 44% from 3 on 8 attempts a night. So much better than what he did in 2022, the best year of his career. He's still an elite free throw shooter. He's averaging 4.5 assists and 2.3 steals a night as well. I don't think Jordan Poole is a good defender now all of a sudden, but he's looked so much better on that end of the floor than he did last year for the Wizards. And I know this contract still isn't great, and maybe though, if he continues to play like this could actually be an eventual trade asset for Washington because he looks like such a dynamic scorer once again. The Utah Jazz as a whole, probably one of the more disappointing teams this year, especially with their top guys. Now, you could give some love to John Collins, who looks really good and could be a solid trade piece as well this year, but we're seeing this John Collins that we've seen before in Atlanta. So I'm going to give some love to somebody that's maybe got a similar vibe to like Brandon Boston in New Orleans or Scottie Pippen Jr. in Memphis that's taking advantage of his increase in minutes and opportunities, and that is Johnny Juzang. Juzang has been a very good shooter for the Utah Jazz this season, and he's someone that's been around for a little bit. There's a reason why Utah wanted to lock him up on a 4-year deal after he showcased really good scoring ability late in last year's season. This year, he's averaging 7 points per game, over a rebound a night, about an assist a night, but he's shooting 39% from 3 on 3 attempts a night, 45% from the field. He is yet to miss a free throw. He's shooting 50% from 3 on contested threes, and he's shooting 38% from 3 on catch and shoot, 50% on pull-ups, and he could be a nice sharpshooter for the Utah Jazz going forward, something they definitely need if guys like Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton are going to be gone at the trade deadline. Now, I was wrong about Christian Brown this year. I thought Julian Strawther was going to be the main replacement to KCP over the course of the season, but Christian Brown says, I'm not giving up that role anytime soon or for the foreseeable future. Christian Brown has been great in year number 3. So far this season, Christian Brown is averaging 16 points per game, a 9-point per game increase from last year's season. He's averaging 5.4 rebounds, up from 3.7 from last year. He's averaging about a steal a night, but he's shooting 55% from the field, and 50% from three, as well as 81% from the line. He brings energy to the defensive end of the floor, and they are 36 points better when he is on the floor. That is his net swing. That is insane. And with guys like Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. either being hurt or inconsistent this year, Christian Brown arguably has been the second best Denver Nugget behind Nikola Jokic. It's not been a fun season for the Portland Trailblazers. Shout out to them just beating the Minnesota Timberwolves in back-to-back games. But Toumani Camara is someone that has been a diamond in the rough that the Phoenix Suns drafted back in the 2023 draft. He was in that Jusuf Nurkic trade. He showcased some ability last year, but he's really looking good this year. So far to start off the year in 13 games, there's a reason why he started every single game so far, because of what he can do on both ends of the floor. He's averaging 9 points, 2 steals, 2 assists, 5 rebounds, and oh yeah, he's just a really good three-point shooter now. 44% from three on over 3 attempts a night. He's shooting 46% from the field. He's a solid post defender. He's 6'8", long wingspan, can guard multiple positions. And this is somebody that's making $2 million this year, $2 million next year, and $2.5 million on a team option in 2027. This is also one of the best rookie contracts in the NBA since he was a second-round pick. The salary is really low. We're going to talk about our third rookie here, and it's going to be a second-round pick. He was the 38th overall pick for one of the best, if not the best team in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're going to talk about AJ Mitchell. I was a big fan of AJ Mitchell coming out of UC Santa Barbara. I really enjoyed watching him at the Combine in Chicago. And with all the injuries OKC's had this year, he's really stepping up, and he must be killing it in practice if he was going to get this playing time to start off this year, even before all these injuries. So far, he's averaging 5 points, 2 assists, shooting 53% from the field, 45% from three, 86% from the line. He's not turning the ball over, and he has been basically in that Cason Wallace role that Wallace was in last year. The only difference, Cason Wallace was the 10th overall pick, and AJ Mitchell was the 38th overall pick. Another diamond in the rough for OKC. Are you surprised? So I mentioned before how Portland just beat Minnesota twice in 2 days, and Minnesota has been somewhat disappointing this year, especially Dante DiVincenzo, who they got in that big Karl-Anthony Towns trade. So I'm actually going to talk about their best player, something I haven't really done in this video so far outside of a few guys. It's going to be Anthony Edwards. Yeah, he's surprising me a ton this year, mainly with his three-point shooting. Anthony Edwards' career high in threes was in his sophomore year with 8.5 threes a night, and he shot that at a 35% clip. Well, he's taking 11.5 threes to start off this season. Over 50% of his total shots have been behind the three-point line, and he is hitting those 11.5 threes at a 42% clip, which is resulting in Anthony Edwards scoring a career high in points right now with 28 a night. He's shooting 43% from three on catch and shoot threes, 42% on pull-up threes, on contested threes, 41% as well, which just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. His dribble moves into these threes have been off the charts, and Anthony Edwards is turning into one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, and if he does that, a scoring title could be on his resume very soon. One of the more surprising players overall when you look at their shot charts has to be AJ Green of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks have been somewhat of a disaster this season. AJ Green, though, has been good for them offensively, and this is a crazy stat so far. AJ Green has taken 57 shots so far this season. That's a decent amount. Guess how many have been threes? You know that he's a three-point specialist, so what? You would say maybe 48, 50, 56 threes. He just took his first 2-point shot the other night, and he missed it as well. So maybe he's just going to take threes for the rest of the year. So that means he's shooting 49% from the field and 50% from three. He's taking 5.1 threes a night. And with Gary Trent Jr. being a massive disappointment so far for them shooting the ball, AJ Green has been a nice three-point shooter for them coming off the bench. When the Indiana Pacers made it to the conference finals last year, a lot of people wanted to talk about Andrew Nembhard, Tyrese Halliburton for obvious reasons, Aaron Nesmith, but a lot of people forgot about Benedict Mathurin, whose season was cut short last year due to injury, and he's been the best Indiana Pacer so far this season. With Miles Turner having somewhat of a disappointing start, same with Tyrese Halliburton with his inconsistencies, same with Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard. Before they got hurt, they were disappointing. Benedict Mathurin is keeping this team alive. So far this year, Mathurin is averaging 20 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting 53% from the field, 47% from three on 4 attempts a night, 81% from the line. He's getting to the free throw line a ton this year as well. He had 38 points against the New York Knicks the other night, and he just looks such a different player from last year, where you saw at times there was a little bit of a sophomore slump to his game. This year, he's breaking out in year 3, and he's showing the Pacers why he needs to be in their future plans no matter what. This is a crazy one, because I'm sure he was the most hated man in Chicago Bulls basketball going into this season, Nikola Vucevic. Well, he's turning into one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, and not just for big men, in all of the NBA. So far this year, Vucevic is shooting 45% from three on 4.1 attempts a night. He took 4.1 attempts a night last year, and he shot 29% from three. So he's turning his game around. He's averaging 21 points per night, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 59% from the field, 45% from 3, 86% from the line. Now, I still don't think he's a good defender at the 5 spot, but if he's going to turn into this elite 3-point shooting center, the Bulls, who were probably going to have some trouble finding a trade partner for him, are not going to have as much trouble anymore. Gotta give some love to Jaden Ivey in Detroit, but some veteran that we all thought was going to be on the losing end of this trade in the offseason has been the complete opposite. Tim Hardaway Jr. He's been much better than Quentin Grimes this season. THJ through 12 games is averaging 12.5 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds a night. He's shooting 47% from the field, 46% from 3, which is a 10% increase from last year's season. He's taking about 2 less threes a night, which is helping out with his efficiency. He's been an elite free throw shooter, and he's just looking like a great complementary piece to Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. And this is exactly what Trajan Langdon wanted to do in the offseason, and he's been better than Malik Beasley and Tobias Harris as well. And the Cleveland Cavaliers have been the most shocking team in the NBA, getting out to a 13-0 start this year. But one of the best players off the bench and one of the best backup point guards this year, you got to talk about Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome is turning into a career best so far in year number 6. He's averaging 10 points, 2 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. He's shooting 61% from the field, 58% from 3, 82% from the line, and I will confidently say the Cavs are not 13-0 without him because he looks comfortable running the second unit. He's getting his teammates involved. He's finishing strong at the rim. Ty Jerome is having his career best season this year. So that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know in the comments who you think is your team's most surprising player this year in a good way. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know down below. Thank you again for Underdog for sponsoring today's video. Remember to use code SROS to get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Link to that is in the description, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.